SEC title game. This has been dominated by Alabama and also the SEC West. Georgia finally exercised the demons and beat Auburn last year. That ended a run going back to 2008 where the SEC West kept winning. Alabama is 13-63 against Georgia. The heavyweight matchup, number 1 against number 4, 1 o'clock Pacific on CBS. Can anybody slow down this out? What the hell is that line if Alabama plays Oklahoma? Well, Alabama punt if that's the matchup coming up. But Georgia's hot, and everyone's talking about these other teams here. Quietly, Georgia's kicking ass and taking names, blowing a ton of people out.
Sure, and let's not forget, and we don't want to put too much on this, but conspiracy theorists need to note, the SEC is going to get 2 teams in if Bama loses. All right, Ohio State and Oklahoma will be frozen out unless somehow, Clemson loses to Pitt, which doesn't look likely, being that they're almost 4 touchdown favorites. So really,
they're in too.
You get Alabama
they'll
losing this game and Georgia winning. Yeah. Clemson's in, Notre Dame's in. So much for Oklahoma and Ohio State. Of course, that'll make everybody crazy when it comes to SEC dominance and all that, but it's a very real possibility for the conference. The conference make a whole lot more money if Bama loses than if Bama wins this ballgame. That being said, Nick Saban doesn't want to lose this game, and Alabama certainly had plenty of success in the SEC title game. Last 3 trips, 42-13, 29-15, 54-16, all wins by 2 touchdowns or more, although I don't know if any of those came against teams that are quite as good as this year's Georgia squad.
Yeah, well, also Alabama. The public's betting this every week, as they should, because they've cashed every week but one. Alabama first half. So look at that and maybe fade them in the second half. Who knows? They could be up with a big lead and take it easy in the second half. But we'll see. And the fascinating angle here is Saban, who owns his former assistants. Can't beat the guy when he's going against his former assistants, too, although they had him beat last year before. What the hell was Saban watching last year that Tua didn't get in the game until the second half? What were you doing?
Well, okay, so here's the quote from Kirby Smart. I'm trying to become the first former Nick Saban assistant to actually beat him. Quote, I really don't look at it that way at all. It's not personal for me. I don't look at it that at all. It would be gratifying to our players. It would be the next step towards going to the playoffs. And those are the objectives we want. It's not about me. It's not about him. And I appreciate that from Kirby Smart. It should be about the players. And when it comes to the players for Georgia, obviously we've seen this team get hot down the stretch. We saw this team give Alabama everything they could handle in the national championship game last January. And, when we look at Alabama's season, for the course of the campaign, how many elite defenses did this team really face? This was not one of the better years for SEC defenses. They faced Mississippi State. They got a real defense. Bama's offense held to 24 in that ballgame. Say what you want about Georgia. They got a real defense. And Alabama will be tested in that regard in this ballgame, especially when we're talking about a total in the 60s. I'm not surprised if this one ended up being a relatively lower scoring affair, even with Tua and Saban and all the success they've had offensively this year. Georgia's defense, pretty darn good.
Yeah, one correction. Auburn did get the money in the first half last week, although Bama got the cover. But they were down. They were up 10 in the third quarter before pulling away and winning by margin in that one, blowing them out. What do you think of the location spot, though? You give a small edge to Georgia that it's in their backyard?
A modest edge to Georgia. It's not like Alabama's not going to have plenty of fans in attendance. It's not going to they're going to have no crowd support just because the game is in Atlanta. Both fan bases will be well represented. Georgia maybe a slight edge, but not enough for me to say, all right, this is worth a point. This is worth 2 points for the Bulldogs. It's not. It's a legitimate neutral site, even though it is in Georgia's home state.
You wonder what happens if there's some late touchdowns. Now, certainly Saban wants to win the game. You can throw all that stuff out, but you got to win by margin here. And if there's a couple late backdoor touchdowns, and maybe that it only finishes 7, is that good enough where we see a rematch in a couple of weeks with the committee and they keep Georgia at number 4, even though they lose? Because there's not a lot to like with Oklahoma and Ohio State. Oklahoma's defense, Ohio State has played one good game, one complete game the entire season. Most people think that Georgia's right there with Clemson as the second best team. So it'd be quite the conundrum for the committee if this one's remotely close.
I don't think it's any conundrum at all. If Georgia has 2 losses and Ohio State and Oklahoma have 1 loss, Georgia will not be in the discussion. They won't be in consideration. They're done. The Bulldogs have to win here in order to get playoff consideration. That's just the way it works this time of year. And they're capable, obviously. We saw a comparable team last year give Alabama everything they could handle and take them into OT in the national title game with all the pressure and all of that. You know, I don't see Georgia with any path. They could lose by a point, and they'll still be on the outside looking in of the playoff picture.
Way.
Yeah. It'd be Ohio State or Oklahoma. No way that they take a two-loss Georgia team over one of those two. Can't be done.
All right. That's a big bet. Yeah, that's a big bet. I'll call you after the show. If they lose a close game, they will take Georgia. I'll take you on that one.
Like the show? Help us keep the lights on. Please make sure to comment, share, and subscribe to all the Sportsbook Review videos. Thanks so much. Best of luck. Enjoy the game.